Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Board Gaming Doctor. My name is Phil, and I'll be your board game doctor today. In this video, I'm going to quickly talk about Crafting the Cosmos. This is a new game that will be, I think, released later on this year by David Gordon and Tam. Those are the designers published by Office Dog. This is available on Board Game Arena, as you can see, and I want to talk about this game because it's been getting a little bit of buzz. So I'll just briefly mention what is going on in this game. So what you are trying to do, I don't know if you're exactly like a deity or just the in charge of the forces of nature, but what you're trying to accomplish in this game is place down nebulas onto a your own personal tableau, and using the forces of time and light and gravity, etc., you will place certain stars and proto-life tokens around these nebulae, and you're essentially trying to fulfill the orders, quote unquote, of the nebulae that you place onto your board by surrounding them with these resources, and you flip them over for points. There are certain ways that this game ends, namely when the last time token is one of the resources that you can gather is collected, then the game ends. In addition to that, you have these cards that you're collecting as sets. You can turn these sets in for certain other types of ability cards to let you play the game with more efficiency, essentially. And this all revolves around a track, or I guess a board of these marbles. They have black energy, dark marbles, and your own player token marbles. You can move them up to 3 times, one adjacent to another, and you gain all the resources that are depicted on this board after you move the tokens, and the marbles over 3 spots, or however many spots you want to move them over to. And therefore, you gain a lot of resources at the beginning of your phase. You get to then craft and place all of the resources that you have gained onto your board, and the goal essentially is to replicate the formation of basic life in the origins of the universe, where these molecules combined to form proto-lives and then more stable forms of life, and then finally advanced life. That is a quick overview of the game. So, talking about some games that I felt like this one can be compared to, it's not the heaviest game, in the library for sure, but it did kind of remind me of the tactile nature of Potion Explosion, first of all. The obviously big comparison is with the marbles and the way that you take actions. You're not necessarily trying to collect sets of marbles to activate your tableau and your cards, etc., but the movement of those marbles on the action board felt kind of similar to that. This game is probably a little bit more advanced compared to Potion Explosion, and it's also less advanced compared to SETI. Now, I think the biggest comparison to SETI is mostly for theme. We're in space, but we're not in like a 4X type of space scenario here, where uh, the setting of each game, I think, is represented pretty well in the most abstract forms as possible. SETI is obviously a more complex and grandiose game with lots of different cards, whereas with Crafting the Cosmos, I think there is some liberty taken with how abstract the game can be, but I feel like the ability that this game has to portray different ideas involving space and time extent. For example, you can move around certain molecules on your board from place to place, proto-life as well. You will be able to kind of pick and choose where you place your nebulae, and uh, it kind of feels like the primordial cosmic soup that is entangled, as is as we've all discussed probably in our science classes early in our lives. But I it just kind of portrayed the same thematic feeling as SETI did. Mechanically, it does feel pretty unique as far as how you place your things on your tile and the freedom that you have to move things along as well. Having the quote unquote resource to move items across your board is really neat. That might represent, the mixing up and the movement of molecules early on in the universe's life. But mechanically in this game, I really appreciate that because you are flipping over random a random nebula to place onto your tableau. You can place it anywhere you want, but one neat fact about that mitigates this randomness in what you are trying to accomplish is that a certain spot can fulfill multiple different nebulae. And so if you place, for example, a carbon based star or planet or whatever in between two nebulae, you ultimately could choose which nebula to score using that resource that is shared between the two. And then, of course, you can move that resource to other parts of the board and potentially respond to the nebula that you have just drawn and have placed that might be more lucrative for you, and that's really cool. All in addition to the mechanical benefits of having efficiencies in different power cards, etc. So, pretty neat there, and it feels pretty unique as well amongst other games of this similar weight and complexity. So, going into my quick peer review, I'm not going to show a compiled list. Just to summarize some of the comments that were made, there weren't a lot because this has been on Board Game Arena for a short amount of time and it's not released as a physical game yet. So, a lot of people enjoy the theme. Some people thought that it wasn't, thematically integrated, but the theme made sense, right? And what you're trying to accomplish mechanically in this game. A lot of people felt like this game would be fiddly. Those who have had a chance to play this game in person did feel like it was kind of hard to manage your board and to be, the flexibility of being able to move resources around on your personal tableau is nice, but maybe in physical form it can be a little. You might feel a little trepidatious moving things around, hopefully not knocking things over. And so that was the major concern for a lot of folks. And other than that, it kind of sounds difficult. And when I first played this game, at the forefront, it did seem more difficult than it actually appears, and so that might affect some first impressions of folks who do play this game. My final rating, I give it a 6.9 out of 10. I enjoyed this game. I think I would play it again to explore some of the different cards and abilities that you have in this game more. I liked the thematic integration, even though some people might disagree that this game isn't very thematic. I think for the weight and complexity as it is, the theme is interesting to me, as well as I think implemented as best as possible to keep this game relatively light. And so I do appreciate that, and I think it's strength essentially. Uh, Other than that, like it's surprisingly easy to learn and play, and I think it would be a lot of fun to play for a few times. I don't know how deep the strategy goes in this game. It seems very reactionary to what kind of nebula you draw when you choose to draw one, as well as I don't know if there are going to be a lot of mind-breaking different types of power cards that are available in this game as well. The interaction is there. I think you can move there is freedom to move those marbles around the action board pretty well. You have to move your own uh, marble as well on every turn, and so I think there is some flexibility, but you could potentially move some dark matter to block someone else from moving their own marble onto a certain board. It would give them the resources the next round, but perhaps uh, it would not give them the opportunity to place their own marble in that certain spot. They would have to move to somewhere else. I guess it's not the most interactive experience. So I might actually downgrade that a little bit, because you're still getting a lot of free stuff on your turn, and maybe that one resource that might be there, if it's potentially blocked, I mean, you're still going to get it. You're still going to get like 2 out of the 3 resources. And so I don't think the all that to say is I don't think the case is clear enough to say that, blocking someone else by placing your own marble there to gain those resources, which would be one more than perhaps your opponent would get, is not the most interactive, or I guess, yeah, tension building experience when it comes to that kind of interaction. It does feel more multiplayer solitaire in that sense, despite the opportunity to move on a shared action board. So take that for what you will, but I think this was fun, and it probably would be fun for a couple of plays on Board Game Arena, and hopefully physically as well. So if this sounds interesting to you, you can go ahead and check out Crafting the Cosmos, which is on Board Game Arena for anyone to play. So thank you for sticking around for this shorter review and first impressions. Thank you for scheduling an appointment with me, and hope that you schedule one in the future. Thank you.